So I wanted to go over something that has served me really well, and it's to do with scaling the business, right? And at my agency, we do everything off the theory of constraints, right? Which basically means a system will only grow until it's constrained to its limit, right? It's like the idea of the weakest link. So it's finding what the weakest link in the chain is, what the constraint of the system is, so that we can deconstrain it and then grow to the next natural constraint, right? It's a very simplistic look, but it's extremely effective because it just cuts down all the noise until, like, if I had to pick one thing that's a big limitation of the business, what would it be, right? And then we just get laser focused on solving that one problem, right? Solve that problem, and then we move on to the next constraint. And if we solve that problem and the business doesn't grow, well, then we pick the wrong constraint, right? And so sometimes the constraint is actually your ability to judge what the constraint is, which is why wisdom is one of the hardest things to earn, which obviously comes from experience, right? And if you need to chunk it all the way up, then, if you need to sum it up, if you want to grow a business, you have to sell more clients, make them worth more, or decrease risk, right? Those are the three things that are going to grow the value of a company. And so just by simply asking the question, like, why do we not have 10 times more customers? Or why are we not making 10 times more money? And figuring out what the answer to that question is, oftentimes is the constraint, right? So if I have a problem, I have to be able to track it back to one of those three things. And if it doesn't really track back to one of those three things, or if there's another problem that has a much higher likely impact in terms of it's higher likely and it's actually got a greater effect size, then I'm going to prioritize that, right? So it's just that oftentimes someone's like, yo, we should change the colors on the website. But, like, what is the actual likelihood that will affect how many models will do business with us, right? Because it isn't up to this point. And so is it a constraint of the business? No. Is it something we could improve? Absolutely, 100%, right? But there's also 100 other things I could improve. I could send more emails, which I don't do, right? There's lots of things that I could do, but what are the few things or one thing that matters most, which ladders back to what is the constraint of the business, right? It ladders to that, right? What is the constraint of the business? So this is just something that served me really well in terms of scaling, just figuring out what's gone wrong and then fixing that one problem first, right? So, you right now, if a constraint for you is, I can't sign models, like I can't, like, there's no traffic in terms of, like, my lead gen sucks, I'm not getting many leads, I can't sign any models, I can't even have quality conversations with models, I can't find any of them at all, then obviously that's going to be the biggest constraint of your business, because if you don't have leads coming in, then you're not going to be able to sign models to deliver results to make money, right? So you need to, before you're trying to fix your website and your branding and your content and all these other things, you need to solve that one constraint first. Otherwise, the business is not going to grow. And you just end up spending time, energy, and your focusing on things that don't actually grow the business and are not actually real constraints, rather than focusing on the one thing that matters, which is going to take your business to the next level, right? So the theory of constraints is really powerful. And again, it just basically means that a system will grow until it's constrained to its limit. So where is the weakest link? Where is the constraint of the system? And how can I deconstrain it to grow to the next natural constraint? So let's say, you solve the model problem, you figure out that's the constraint of your business. You can't find models. You figure out the lead gen. Now you've got a flow of models coming in, but now maybe your chatting isn't that good, and maybe your clients are not that happy with the chatting. So that's going to be the next natural constraint. So then you go and fix that constraint, and then that's how you grow and scale, right? Rather than, like, doing a bunch of pointless shit that doesn't matter. Like, if you can't generate leads and if you can't get models, then that is the constraint. Don't go and worry about all this other stuff that's pointless if the main constraint is the fact that you can't find models or you can't generate leads, right? So you need to figure out, maybe you can't close deals. Maybe that's a constraint. Maybe you've got a fuck ton of leads, but for some, you just can't close them. Like, you're jumping on calls every day and you just can't close them, right? That's a constraint. You need to figure that out, right? So this is what I would do. And you can also tie this in with a pre-mortem as well. So yeah, this is super important. This has served me really well, and this is worth its weight in gold. So yeah, hope you're having a blast day, and see you at the top. Peace.